Hey everyone, Dan Saavedra here from mergerdata.com, and today I'm going to be going over HubSpot's Operations Hub pricing for their various tiers and the options that you have around that. In a separate video, I'll be diving into the feature sets for each level of Operations Hub, but for this video, I'm going to talk about how the pricing is broken down and then some options that you have in order to get a little bit better of a deal. So let's dive in. So HubSpot does have all of their pricing public for all of their hubs and all of their levels. So you can go to the HubSpot website and click on their pricing. And you'll be able to see every single plan and every single level of each hub and the cost for each one. And you'll even be able to toggle between the monthly and the annual pricing so you can know exactly what the difference is. Now, if you do have an existing account and you're logged in, it's going to look a little bit different when you go to look at pricing. So if I open up this HubSpot demo account, you'll see the same thing in your HubSpot portal. And basically, you'll be able to click on this drop down button and get to pricing and features down here. If you click on that, you'll see that it brings you to a page with the different plans and exactly how much they cost. So if you go from a Google search to look for pricing on HubSpot, they'll most likely redirect you to log in with your existing account and then see the pricing relevant to your business. And so it's going to be a little bit different because if you have existing subscriptions, it'll show you the amount to upgrade to the next hub or to downgrade. And so instead of just giving you a flat price like it would if you're not logged in, it's going to give it in context of your current billing. So this is a good note before we dive into the actual pricing on Operations Hub. I'm just going to bring back over the public page if you're not logged in, and we'll work from here. And the first thing you see is that it brings you to businesses and enterprises pricing first, which is the professional and enterprise tiers. But this isn't the starting level for Operations Hub. If you click on this other tab for individuals and small teams, you'll see that it highlights the CRM Suite Starter. And then if you go down, you have Free Tools, Starter, and Professional again down here. So this is the page that you should operate from. All the pricing is up front, and I'm just going to talk through each one of the Operations Hubs available and why it might make sense to do this CRM Suite instead. So if we scroll down, you obviously have the free tools that HubSpot already provides. And so it's difficult to know the distinction between all the hubs on the free level because it all just kind of blends together, in my opinion. There's a lot of overlap between Operations Hub and some of the other hubs in terms of the user experience, so you might not notice the specific features in the free version. So we'll skip over that and go straight to Starter here. And Starter is a great way to just get your feet wet with HubSpot and each of their hubs. With most of the starter packages, I'd almost always recommend just going up to this CRM Suite Starter instead, because when you break it down, the usefulness of all the starter packages, it's really easy to justify a $30 a month spend if it's monthly, and then upfront it goes all the way down to $20 a month, which is the equivalent of paying monthly for Operations Hub Starter. So in my opinion, it's a no-brainer to just get the suite. All of the features in each of these hubs are incredibly useful, and it really opens up HubSpot compared to the free version. While the free version is a great intro, I feel like it's too limited to get a lot of value out of in terms of the amount of time it takes to get familiar with each of the hubs and HubSpot in general. And so Starter, you'll run into a lot less limitations than the free tools. And yeah, I always recommend people to get the Starter package just because financially it makes a lot more sense than getting each starter individually. So when it comes to Starter versus Professional, you can see that it's a really big jump between the two. Now, one thing to note is the bundle is available at each level, and it's pretty much the same concept. If you're going to get a couple of a certain level of hubs, so if you're going to get a couple hubs that are professional or above, it might make sense to do the suite instead, just because it's not too much of a difference in price and you just get so much more functionality. So as long as you're going to use it, then it might be of interest to you. Obviously, with professional, the price point's way higher, especially if you're a small business. But you just need to evaluate each hub individually. For Ops Hub, there's a big difference between Starter and Professional in terms of capabilities. And like I said, we won't go into it on this video. You can see the separate video on the channel. But with Professional, you're opening up things like custom code and webhooks, which honestly is usually the main reason we see people upgrade to professional for Ops Hub, just because you're now able to extend the functionality within HubSpot for automation, and then you're also able to connect it easier in an easier manner to other tools with the webhooks. So big price difference here between starter and professional. I will say that when you're looking at this pricing, I would usually consider trying to balance the amount of time your team is spending manually moving data or creating other solutions in Zapier or Make or something like that. Because with Ops Hub Professional, you're going to eliminate a lot of the use cases for Zapier and Make, especially if you have a little bit of coding knowledge or are willing to learn. You'll be able to use the features in the professional tier to take over a lot of the Zaps and Make scenarios that you might have built. And as we know, Zapier keeps getting more expensive, Make keeps getting more expensive, and then the overhead in terms of labor always adds up. So it really makes sense to go up to professional if you're doing a lot of automations between other tools anyway. And one other note for the jump between starter and professional is that if this feels like a gigantic stretch for your business because of your budget or revenue, then most likely it doesn't make sense for you to upgrade anyways, because you won't be able to take full advantage of the features that are available in professional or higher. Now, it's a little bit difficult to accept this sometimes because when I was a smaller business as well, it seemed like the professional features would have made sense at the time and I really needed them and really wanted them. But looking back, there was so much more work to do around processes and around simplification of processes and systems that ultimately this would have been a waste of money because we just weren't doing enough volume. And as we grow and as we keep growing, we'll continue to upgrade because the pricing should be more of a no-brainer decision rather than something that feels like it's really breaking the bank. In that case, if it feels like it's breaking the bank, then in reality, you probably just have to take a step back and figure out other ways to grow your business before focusing on bigger packages of software. Now, that might not be a popular opinion, but over my time consulting with HubSpot, that's what I've seen over and over again. If this is a big stretch for you, then it makes sense to focus on other things first before upgrading your HubSpot subscription. So something to keep in mind when you're looking at these prices. If it's a really big stretch for the budget and for the business, then it just might not make sense to upgrade yet and to focus on other things. So, big jump between starter and professional. Professional is absolutely worth it when you look at the feature set and it matches what your business is going through and where you're spending money instead on labor and other systems. And now we're going to go back over to businesses and enterprise and go to professional versus enterprise. Hey everyone, real quick before we get back to the video, if you're thinking about upgrading to Operations Hub Professional or Enterprise, we are running a special where if you close that deal with us involved as a partner, then we will give you 10 free hours of consulting for the professional upgrade or 15 free hours of consulting for the enterprise upgrade. And you can use that to get jump started with your Operations Hub implementation. Plus, on top of that, we will help you waive the onboarding fee that HubSpot usually charges for professional or enterprise purchases. So click on the link in the description, click on the link in the video description below if you are interested in that and book a call with our team. All right, let's get back to it. And so from a percentage standpoint, it's not as big of a jump between professional and enterprise for Ops Hub compared to starter and professional, because go back one more time. Starter versus professional. I mean, this is somewhere close to like a 40x price increase from one tier to the other. But when we go over to professional versus enterprise, it's only about 2 times as much, a little bit more than 2 times. And there's a lot more features that are unlocked on the enterprise level here. And so you can see here that there's not a difference in pricing between yearly and monthly payments for the enterprise level. Once again, make sure that you compare what you need in the different hubs and see if CRM Suite makes sense, because you're going to save a lot of money. One other note too, when calculating these higher tiers of hubs, if you click on calculate your price up here, it'll bring you down here where you can add different plans for each hub and then see exactly how much it's going to cost you. So you can always add on additional features down here too. So with Enterprise Hub, it's a really big deal to jump from professional to enterprise for several reasons. If you don't have any enterprise subscriptions already, you get access to custom objects, which opens up a lot of options for integrating with other systems and tracking things more accurately inside of HubSpot rather than just getting the standard objects, which are contacts, companies, deals, leads, tickets, and I'm sure there's a few more that I'm missing as well. So you'll be able to create custom objects here that fit your business specifically. And then you also unlock all of these different feature sets around analysis. And from our standpoint, this is obviously a big deal because we're an analytics company. Data sets is a relatively newer feature that HubSpot keeps building on top of, and it really unlocks what you can analyze inside of HubSpot and the speed to analysis for your team. And so this could potentially eliminate some of your needs for BI tools, depending on what you're trying to do specifically. There are tons of use cases for BI tools on top of analysis inside of HubSpot, but if you are primarily operating all of your business out of HubSpot, data sets is a gigantic impact, as well as all the data calculations and prep that you get. And then the other thing that we find typically useful goes back to the custom objects, or it's similar to the custom objects, where if you don't have an enterprise hub yet and you get an Operations Hub Enterprise subscription, then you also get a sandbox account. And a sandbox account is a really big deal when you're making big changes. So if you're subscribing to Enterprise, it makes sense to use Sandbox because clearly your revenue and the scale of your business is supporting a software subscription of this size. And so you want to be able to test any changes that are going to impact the entire data set inside of HubSpot. You want to be able to test that in a separate account to make sure that you're not running into any issues. So this was a brief overview of the pricing between all the Operations Hub levels. Once again, main things to remember is you can calculate your price and then also to look at the CRM suite. So if we go over here, you can see like $5,000 a month for the entire enterprise suite compared to $2,000 just for Ops Hub by itself. So it very well could make sense to go here for enterprise and do the CRM suite instead and cap you out at $5,000 a month. One other thing before I forget is if I go back to the Operations Hub and then I go down to calculate your price, there are add-ons available. And so this can change your pricing quite a bit in my experience. So if you do have a lot of activity on the reporting side, on the API side, on list creation, and I'm trying to do this off my head, but I guess it's right here. The teams limit increase as well. This will add to your monthly costs. For the API limit increase, I believe you get 100,000 already. So unless you're doing major syncs between various systems or hitting the HubSpot API for other applications quite a bit, you won't need this. There are definitely use cases for this, obviously. That's why HubSpot has the additional pricing there. So that's an option. The reporting limit increase gives you 3,000 additional custom reports and then an additional 300 dashboards. And I've seen that come in play when there are large sales teams and large marketing teams making all of their own analytics and all of their own reports to keep track of everything. A lot of times it does make a little bit more sense to clean up the reporting and dashboard environment rather than add on to it. But each business is unique, and there's a very good chance that you could have a need for this, and it's easier just to add additional reports rather than take the time to go through and clean and limit everyone. So just make sure to look at the add-ons here so you can see what the total price would be. You can add in multiple quantities of things so you can see the limit increases and how much that would cost. And that's pretty much it when it comes to the differences in pricing between all the Operations Hub plans. Hopefully this was a useful breakdown of the pricing for Operations Hub for you. Once again, we're going to be making another video here where we go into the details of the feature sets and the differences between each plan for the Operations Hub. Otherwise, one final note is that we just really love Operations Hub because we pitch ourselves as the marketing data sidekicks for businesses. So we're always doing the data for the marketing team that's understaffed or underfunded. And Operations Hub is one of the favorite things, one of the favorite tools that we use because it makes things so much easier, so much more scalable, and really allows you to connect platforms to HubSpot, making the entire platform more useful for the business. So the sales team, the marketing team can all use data in an accurate way inside of the system. So highly recommend checking this out. I appreciate you stopping by and watching this video. Hopefully you watch the next one where we compare the individual features between all of the different plans for Operations Hub. I'm Dan Saavedra from mergerdata.com, and I'll see you on the next one.